Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. I really do appreciate the time you have taken to watch this video. Today we'll be creating an art journal page as a tribute to Sir Charles Spencer Chaplin or Charlie Chaplin. I'm starting off with a primed surface. I just use Mod Podge on top of my paper to make the surface non-porous. This will allow me to work with the acrylic paints easily. You can see I'm able to move the acrylic paint around without any hassles. So Mod Podge allows me to do so. If I hadn't used any Mod Podge or prime my surface, it would have been very difficult to move the acrylic paint around because it will just sink into the paper. So that's the reason priming is very important. I started off with a bright yellow cantaloupe shade, and I'm using a baby wipe to spread it around and cover the entire surface or entire page. Next, I'm using a sepia orangish brown color to give the page a vintage look. You'll see in a moment what I mean by vintage look, because it looks almost distressed against the yellow background. One thing to note here is, as you've put a fresh layer of acrylic paint, it tends to lift whatever is there at the bottom. The bottom acrylic paint that is yellow here tends to fade away a little, and you can see white page peeking through. But honestly, I feel this gives a little character and it looks more distressed in my opinion. But if you don't want this to happen, go ahead and apply another layer of Mod Podge on top of yellow before going in with sepia. This should take care of all the fading. Next, I'm going to fuzzy cut a silhouette of Charlie Chaplin. You can either draw this or take a printout, either will work just fine. If you have a good pair of scissors, it's very easy to fuzzy cut and get all the nooks and crannies of the image. Next, I am going to tear out a few pieces of paper from an old book, and I'm going to distress it using my distress inks. I have it in two shades, tea dye as well as vintage photo. If you don't have these exact shades, always go in with a brown ink pad. That will work just fine. And you can even go a step further and dip it in black tea and remove it within few seconds, and that will give a very nice vintage worn out script like effect. Next, I'm going to stick these down using Mod Podge. I have diluted it a little with water so that I can easily brush it, because Mod Podge tends to be a little thick in consistency. You can always use water to dilute it a little. Also, a word of caution: whenever you are using glue or gel on top, a gel medium on top of these distress paints, they tend to lift and they would have transferred onto the brush as well. So whenever you are using it on another surface, make sure you clean that brush, because you don't want brown spots all over the page. So that's just a word of caution whenever you are using distress inks. Next, I'm going to stick down the Charlie Chaplin silhouette which we had fuzzy cut earlier. So this is how I want my page layout to be. Feel free to do it however you want, because creativity has no limitation. You can use whatever you want, however you want. So whatever floats your boat, do that. I think the best part of art journaling is that they're all there in one book. It's not like when you're doing it on canvas, you are like committed. You have to store it, you have to make sure you have some room for it. But art journaling, they're all in just one book, so that's the best part. I'm also using a brown marker around some of the pages which I forgot to distress earlier. You can even do this instead of using the distressing. Just take a brown marker and smear it with your finger, and even that will give a vintage look. The next step is to add some music to the background. If you have an actual music sheet, that would be great. Just go ahead and stick it down like we did with the script, but as I don't have any music sheets, I'm going to use a stamp along with a brown ink, and I'm going to stamp all across the page. If you have seen Charlie Chaplin movies, they're all silent movies. There used to be some music and there never used to be any dialogue, so I want to represent that somehow in my page, and I think it worked out well. And lastly, I'm going to stamp a quote by Charlie Chaplin: "A day without laughter is a day wasted." So that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed watching this video. Give this video a thumbs up if you did. I would really appreciate it, and I'll see you again in my next video. Take care. Bye bye.